We are back again with another quick tip. This time I have Zoe back with me again from the Microsoft PM team. Zoe, welcome back to the channel. We're very happy to have you back here again. We're going to talk today about Direct Lake and accessing Direct Lake in Power BI Desktop. This was recently announced at the Microsoft Fabric Conference this past end of March, beginning of April. And so with this, Zoe, let's jump right on in. Let's go to your screen share and let's see how you can connect to Direct Lake tables directly in Desktop. Previously, you would be able to edit these experiences, but now we're doing the create experience now in Desktop.
Exactly. So here I have my existing Direct Lake semantic model, right? So this one is, I live connected. So you can see I'm live editing up here. You'll see this banner. And the way I got to this is I went to the OneLake catalog, and then I did published Power BI semantic models. And then on the dropdown, I hit edit, right? I think I have, let me just flip over to the blank one. So if I wanted to do that, I just go to here, right? And then I'm going to click that edit button on the semantic model. It has to be a Direct Lake semantic model, right? So now this one, once I can live edit it and play with it here. But what we didn't have before until last at FabCon is the way to create these. So the way I created this one is I went to the lake house, and let me see if I can pull up the lake house here, right? So if I went to my lake house here, and you would click that kind of new semantic model button up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see we have that new semantic. So that's how you kind of create them now, or you can still create those. And then here I have, now I'm in there and I can do my relationships and all that kind of stuff. Another thing I want to actually, before I jump over to creation in desktop, one other thing we brought into is if you are using Direct Lake already and you have those kind of blanks in your slicers for when you have like a dimension table, like here I have my geo and my product, you can actually now use assume referential integrity to get that blank out of your slicer, right? So I wanted to bring that one up.
Excellent.
All right, so but how do I create this now in Power BI Desktop?
Yes.
So here I'm in kind of a blank instance of Power BI Desktop, and I'm going to go to the OneLake catalog, and I'm going to pick Lakehouse. Now you can pick a lakehouse or you can pick a warehouse, and then once you go here, and you can just go to the OneLake catalog and just find the lakehouse. You can filter it once you get kind of into the screen. And once you get here, you could just pick one of the lake houses or warehouses that you have access to, right? So here I have, I'm actually going to use this one. And again, you can filter it here. Now you'll see this is connect button, and then there's a drop down, right? Now the drop down is going to connect to OneLake, and let me zoom in a little bit, right? So we have this connect to OneLake and connect to SQL endpoint. What does that mean exactly? Is that, so the lake house has a SQL endpoint. That's the SQL Analytics endpoint. It's kind of like a child artifact. Right, and if I click on that one, I'm going to go and create a model with import a direct query. And if I click on the connect to OneLake, now I'm going to create a model with Direct Lake tables. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and click. And if I just click the connect without doing the dropdown, it does also connect to OneLake, and that'll create the Direct Lake semantic model here in Desktop. Right. So here now you'll see kind of this familiar screen. Right. So I can say Direct Lake. Semantic model on OneLake, right? And so we're calling, and this is a little bit different flavor of Direct Lake, and we'll get into it here in just a minute. So I've given it a name. This is the workspace that the lake house is in. Now I can pick a different one if I don't have access to create models there, or if I wanted to kind of create it in a different workspace anyway, I can do that at this point. And then I'm going to pick the tables I want to bring into this model.
Nice.
Right? And then I'm going to hit OK. And then it's going to create that Direct Lake semantic model in the service. And then again, I'm live editing just like I was before. Right. So the one thing I wanted to call out here is this is kind of a new flavor of Direct Lake, if you will.
Okay.
Right. So what do we mean by this kind of new flavor? We mean that, so one of the things that people were not excited about in Direct Lake was it had this fallback to direct query. So when we're doing, so this one is actually connecting directly to the lake house, not to the lake house's SQL endpoint. The previous one I created, when you created in the lake house or you created in the SQL Analytics endpoint, they are actually a child object, they're not child, a downstream of the SQL Analytics endpoint, which means we can talk to SQL because we have direct query mode. So we had this direct query mode also available to us, and it allowed us to use views in direct query mode, not Direct Lake,
Yeah.
But we also had to obey the permissioning because we're downstream of the SQL Analytics endpoint. We had to obey the permission level of that artifact, which is you had to have read data. And if you put like role-based security on your SQL endpoint, now role-based security in semantic model works in both flavors, just as expected for any semantic model. But if you put SQL endpoint, now everything fell back to direct query because we had to honor that security roles in thing. Now we have
interesting. Yeah.
So now when I'm doing this direct lake on one lake, where I'm connecting direct to the lake house, now I don't have to worry about lake house's permissioning. I don't, and it's not, and now I'm a peer object to like a peer to the SQL Analytics endpoint. I'm not impacted by this, anything on the SQL endpoint, right? So you have to have all your Delta tables kind of living in the lake house, and you can use those in your semantic model. Now we also have One Lake security coming up. So direct link on One Lake, currently, if you're using the public preview, the manage access roles, you won't be able to create the direct link on One Lake until we have the early access version of that One Lake security, and that's coming out. And you can sign up. There's a blog article. I'll send a link to you later, Mike. You can add to this article. I should have had that prepared.
That's okay.
And it has early access, and then you can utilize things. And this is really important for shortcut tables. So if you have a shortcut table, you won't be able to use that just yet in the direct link on One Lake until you have that early access.
And just one thing to clarify here too, if you're looking at desktop and you're trying to figure out what storage mode, what you have connected to, in the bottom right-hand corner, if you zoom in, Zoe, in the very bottom right down there, there's a little storage mode direct lake. So that's how we know we're talking to this. And that way we know we're connecting directly to tables in the lakehouse. That's indicating to us, and we're not going through the SQL Analytics endpoint to get to those tables. So I think this is actually a really big moment here because the other question here around this as well, Zoe, is if I am looking at the lineage view inside PowerBI.com, right, I would see previously Lakehouse, SQL Endpoint, Semantic Model. And in this mode, will I now just see Lakehouse right to Semantic Model? And it's like I've seen this before. So this is
exactly. So this is my Lakehouse. Obviously, I would show you the one in the. Oh, let me turn off that. I would show you the one in that workspace. That workspace is a little bit complicated. So, but I have a screenshot here. So basically, this is the default one. Now, the default one is a different beast entirely, but it is direct link on SQL. So on the SQL endpoint, right? So you can say it's on SQL because it's over here, and this one's direct link on One Lake because it's only going to that Lakehouse artifact.
Awesome. All I just wanted to point out is it's going to look a little different in the service for you.
Exactly. So you'll find them directly off of that Lakehouse.
Awesome.
Another thing to note is, like Zoe, you said it's a new flavor. I don't have this fallback to direct query. How do I know which one I'm actually in? And you can quickly see that if you go over to here, you'll see this direct link behavior, which is one way that we can control whether this fallback to direct query happens in direct link on SQL. For direct link on One Lake, there is no fallback to direct query, so this direct link behavior is grayed out. And I'll show you another way you can kind of tell. All right, so you're like, Zoe, this is great. This is fantastic. Now I can create, and I've created it, and I can edit it here. But I already have, let me see. So I already have my beautiful reports, live editing, live connected to my direct link on SQL model, which is that first one I showed. Right, and this is fully fleshed out, right? I have all this stuff done already, right? I have my measures, I have my relationships, I have everything I've already done. Now you're saying I have to rebuild this? I don't want to rebuild this. So I'll show you now. We have Tyndall view also in live editing of direct link semantic models. So now I can come over here and I can script this entire model really quickly, and you can see all the stuff that I've done. But if I go all the way down to the bottom, I'm not quite sure why my build is missing a scroll bar, but anyway, we'll go through. This is very long. Okay, so if we go down to the bottom here, now you'll see we have this expression. This expression is pointing to the SQL endpoint. Now, if I come in here, and I'm going to just create two of these. Now, there's a couple ways you can, before you kind of do the migration. One is just one create two. So this one is the direct link on SQL. And this one I'm going to change to direct link on One Lake, or the other way around. I'm already scrolled. The other way you can actually kind of make it back up before you try to mess with this is, not in file, sorry. In here, you can go to version history. And hopefully this will load properly here. And you can actually just go ahead and create a version history, like a snapshot of before we start messing with this, and
Oh,
kind of
wow.
have some way to kind of back up. So if something goes wrong, I mess up something in my Timdal, you can also go ahead and do that. I think if I go to
And just to be clear here, you're in the service right now looking at version history here, because the version history comes from the service capabilities. It's not coming from desktop.
exactly. And this model is always in the service, right?
Yes,
So if I
sure.
come
Yep.
here, so and then you'll notice we have this view mode. We can go to editing here. And also we have a path up here
Ah, look at
back
that.
to Power BI Desktop, which is fantastic.
Woo!
Right?
Love it.
So, and then I want to go here and we can say save to version history. So I'm going to say before I started
I like this.
things.
Yep.
Right?
Great.
So now I have kind of a backup, like if I wanted to go back and undo, I can. Okay, so let's go back here. Now, what am I going to put here? So,
and just to be clear about that version history, we're talking about the semantic model definition. We're not talking about the data in the semantic model. So, like, for example,
actually, it is including the data in the semantic model.
I want to. Okay, good. I just want to clarify that. Okay, good.
But except for here, we're just doing direct links. So there's really no data. But
true. That makes sense.
But if it's an import model, it will actually take a copy of the data as well.
Even better. Okay, good. Just want to point that out as well for those of you who are looking at that version history thing. That is also copying the import stuff. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. So I realized I think I did this. Okay, so we have this guy, and I believe I am using. Let me go back. So if I want to see kind of, I've forgotten which one I used. Okay, so if I go back to data source settings, I can come in here and I say, okay, I'm using this one here, right? And it'll show me, if I hover, I can see kind of the GUID of the workspace and the thing. And now the other thing I want to show before I show the migration step is actually I can bring in multiple artifacts here, right? So if I want to do the migration step, what I would do is I would come here, I would script this guy, and then go all the way down. And now I have the different ones. This is the direct lake on one lake. It's the Azure Docs, right? Okay. And this is actually going to be the workspace ID, and this is going to be my lakehouse ID. Right. Nice. So I just need to copy that into the other one and hit apply. But I need to double check that I'm using the correct one there. So I think I'm not. So let's just go back here a second. I'm going to show you how to quickly bring in another lake house, right? So here's another one.
The name is hilarious. I love
another lake house.
Aptly named. I love it.
Right. So hit connect. And now you'll see I get my screen again, right? And this is warehouses and lake houses supported right now. We're going to bring in other artifacts like the myriad stuff and all that kind of stuff soon. Yep. And now I can bring in, another table and bring this into my semantic model. So I can do this as many times as I want. So now you no longer have to consolidate things
to one lake house.
Exactly. You can just now leave them kind of where they're at and kind of work with them as they are.
And there's an advanced concept here around talking through relationships between these different tables. There's this idea of I think a strong link and a weak link when you're talking about composite models.
Yes.
And what you just described here of saying I have two separate lake houses. I have my normal lake house and another lake house. And if I grab tables from two different areas, it's still retaining the strong linkage. Like it's acting as if it is a single merged together single lake house across both spaces. There's no weird edge case scenarios that we get when we go composite models between two direct query analysis services models, because there's some limitations there that you get when you do direct query across those two islands, I guess, as it's to be described. So I just want to call that out as well. I think this is really, really important. And this also adds a lot more strength to the model, and it will be much more performant when you grab tables from different places. And as I think about this as a developer, I think, well, maybe I have a lake house with a lot of dimensions in it. And maybe I have a lake house with maybe some different facts and maybe even unique dimensions per a business unit or not. And so now I can kind of mix and match different lake houses together based on the needs of those users, because I can then provide direct access to a single lake house for my sales team, and they get some dimensions and some factual piece information there. But I can make a separate lake house for marketing or operations. They get something totally different, but yet you can still blend the best practices or tables from each group if you need to. So I think this is really important here.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's a really great way to kind of, as you said, kind of consolidate have people work on different parts, and then you can consolidate it in the semantic model. And those relationships will still be regular, right? So we have the concept of a limited relationship where it's cross-island. And here, because everything's actually in the same one lake, it's now just all regular relationships all the way through, which is really exciting.
Super awesome.
All right, so I'm going to quickly show this again. So I'm going to show this creation. It's kind of quick, so I'm going to show it again. So I went to the lake house, and what I want to do is actually want to pick the same lake house as I have in that direct lake on SQL, right? Because I wasn't 100% sure I picked the right lake house in my first run through. So I'm going to show it again, and I want to show kind of how we can. All right, so I was using the demo one here. So I'm going to hit connect, right? You can do the drop down and do connect to one lake, but you can just hit connect, right? So I'm going to say this is my test directly one to get expression. So I'm going to name it nicely so I can remember to delete it later. And then I'm going to bring in, I don't have to bring in all the tables because I'm actually only interested in the expression, right? So all I want this model for is just to build that expression for me. So, excuse me. So I'm going to just create it, and then I'm going to go and steal it for my other model. And then I'll come back to this guy and we'll add some more sources and stuff like that. And then I'll show that relationship as well. Okay, so here we have it creating, and I'm going to just give it a second. Now you'll notice we don't have the report view, right? So report view goes away. So now it's created, ta-da. And then now we're live editing again. So I'm going to go back to Tyndall view here, and I'm going to script it and come all the way down to the bottom here. And then I have this expression. I'm going to copy it. Now you can go get this information also from, if you go to Lakehouse and get properties, that shows you the URL there. But this one, I'm exceptionally lazy, so I just have it do it for me. And I'm going to paste it in. And
no problem.
Then I'm going to hit apply, right? So again, I did a little backup version history, and I did a script here that shows the old version, right? But I'm done, right?
Yes.
My model is still intact, thankfully. Let's see what happens when I run a little query. Right, so I'm going to do I'm just going to do the create new measure. Now this works. I didn't do anything, right? It's working.
Awesome.
If I go over to here, I look, this thing is grayed out. I'm in direct lake on one lake, and I did that in like 30 seconds, right? Other than waiting for desktop to load and to bring the tables. But now I've actually converted this model completely.
Wow.
If I come back, and now I'm in direct lake on one lake, right? So this is pretty seamless with Tyndall view.
Let me just summarize what I just to repack what you just did there. So we had a model that was created in the service that we were editing locally on desktop. It was originally connected to the SQL Analytics endpoint, and what we've done is we've basically with that one
direct lake on SQL.
Direct link on SQL. And so what we've done is we've then switched that, and now we're doing direct lake to one lake down below. So basically we removed that image you showed earlier. We basically removed the SQL endpoint out of the related paths, lineage path, and just went straight to the tables now, which is awesome. I really love this.
Exactly. And so we can even probably see it if I come back to here, right? If I go back to the service and look at the lineage view, right? So you have that. I showed it really quickly, actually. I probably should have slowed down a smidgen. But I have a path to get to this page from desktop when I'm live editing. And I believe there is a lineage view here, right? So now here's that lineage view. And now you can see I'm going to just from a lake house directly to this guy. I don't know why Finance Lake House is in this mix, but we'll move. Oh, because I have a shortcut in there. Now, I didn't use the shortcut table, right? So shortcuts, again, just be careful with those unless you're in the early access of that one lake security. They will not work. And then, of course, views will have to be materialized. And they did release the materialization of views. I don't think it's quite out just yet. I was trying to find information on it.
It's not, but I will put a video in the link. I had the Justina's team come on and actually talk in depth about materialization.
So you already got that one covered. Good, because I was I don't know if I can demo that.
No, I'm very excited about materialized views and very thrilled to see it there. So I will definitely give you the link for materialized views. It's out. There's not many demos or video or instructions about it, but it does exist on the Power BI Tips YouTube channel. So check out the comments here, and that will be where you would learn more about materialized views, which will be a game changer for those of you who are actually going to be using materialized views in the future. It will change how you build models in the future here. Very excited about that.
Yeah. So I wanted to quickly show this slide with so this is that direct lake on one lake. It's coming right from the lake house. We still have the direct lake on SQL coming from the SQL endpoint. Of course, you could do import and direct query as well, right? And so showing that this is what we kind of had before Fabcon. Now we have this one as well. And this one is kind of the new one on the block. It's not going to do that direct query. You can have multiple sources. It's quite cool, right? So if I go back a little bit in my slide deck here, right here, this one here, right? So here, normal fallback, and then multi-source is available. And you can create it in desktop, right? Which is really, really cool. So here, now I'm in my direct lake on, this is my direct lake on SQL. Now look, I have the one lake catalog available to me. And I can go here. Awesome. And I can say, okay, so then I have this guy. This is the one I wanted. I'm going to connect to here. I can bring in additional tables. So this was my direct lake on SQL. It was blocked before. I converted over to direct lake on one lake. And now I can go ahead and have that experience with direct lake on one lake. All right.
So let me ask the question that maybe someone in the chat may ask or is thinking about. Okay, so there is an opportunity there are limitations on how big these tables can be when you bring them in using direct lake. What happens if we run in? So by default, when we ran into in the prior statement, right, when we were doing direct lake to SQL endpoints, we were dropping back into direct query mode every so often. So this does not do that now. And what happens, or what would I see if I run out of room or space, or I run into a threshold? What would that look like to me as a user?
Yeah, so that would look as an error, right? So from like in your visuals, like, so I have my report here, right? So if something went wrong and I hit a guardrail, right? When you have the direct lake on SQL, we would just fall back seamlessly. If you have the direct lake behavior as automatic, we would fall back to direct query and still load the table. It would just take a little bit longer. Whereas this place, if you did run into that, then it would actually show an error.
It'll just look like a normal error, like, hey, this visual can't be rendered, and then that potentially is the model's too big. There's too many rows in the table, and so we'll have to throw that error into Copilot and have it help interpret what the error is, so we can figure out what's going on. Okay, so I just want people to be aware that there are limitations on how big these direct lake tables can be. Definitely read the documentation on that. I'll go see if I can find a link for that as well, because there are thresholds you should care about, and it does change the larger the FSKU that you get, I believe.
Exactly. And I used to have I think it's, anyway, I don't have it up right now, but there is also a way you can kind of see that using the notebook, right? There's an actual function in Semantic Link Labs you can run, and it'll tell you kind of what your guardrail is, kind of, and if you're hitting them or not per table. Like you can run it on like a lake house and say, am I going to run into any of these? And if you get an error, you can run it again and say, oh, okay, now I am hitting some of this stuff right here.
I will go try and find that as well, because that is something that's very relevant as well.
Exactly. But yeah, without the fallback, then there's no fallback, and you would just error. Same as if you pushed it into kind of direct lake only when you're doing direct lake on SQL, and there's no fallback available there. You hit a guardrail, you show an error.
Okay.
So you just have to monitor and make sure you're not getting close to those guardrails.
All right, I have the link here right now, and I'm putting that in the chat window. This is the link. This is the direct link to the documentation from Michael Kowalski. There is a Senpai Labs direct lake .check fallback reason. And then there's also some other things here where you can do like, direct lake schema sync and direct lake schema compare. So there's also some other functions he's apparently building around this experience as well, hopefully helping us migrate a little bit easier between the two experiences. So I would imagine if we just
Exactly.
say this, we just have to say Michael Kowalski's name and say, Michael Kowalski, please build us a semantic link labs that would let us easily translate between SQL Direct Lake and Direct Lake on the actual lakehouse. So all we need is just to say it, and he will materialize the function. So this is kind of how requirements get handled to back to Michael Kowalski. Anyways, super good stuff there as well.
He also has like an actual like dedicated page for putting ideas, and then that also helps.
I love it as well.
But also, I wanted to point out one other thing that just to keep in mind when you're using Direct Lake on one lake is you can go back and do web modeling as well. But you'll notice the little edit tables up here is kind of grayed out, right? So you're like, oh, Zoe, what gives? You said everything was good. And so you can have, we're going to light that up here soon in the public preview. So we're in public preview right now. That's kind of the next on our list. But you can always go edit it again in Power BI Desktop, right? And that's what you can have that quick, again, you have that kind of quick path back right over
Love
here.
It.
Well, I wanted to see kind of, let's see, one more live demo. So here I have there. So there's this is the one, my Direct Lake. When I changed, this is before when I was doing Direct Lake on SQL, and I can restore it and go back to Direct Lake on SQL if I wanted to. Let's see if this works.
What a great feature. I really like this history thing.
And look,
wow.
Now look, my edit tables is back because now I'm back in Direct Lake on SQL. Wow. Right, I undid my entire migration there. Right, everything is good to go. So that was kind of one way, like, okay, I went there, like, oh, maybe I didn't want to, I can come back to it, right? And so I was able to quickly do that with the version history. I could have gone and run the Tyndall script again and just change that expression. Or I could do that. So you can kind of go back and forth.
And just to be clear, when you're making that snapshot, it's on the file ribbon is what you're looking at when you make when you're in the service and you're trying to make that comment there. So file, and then it will be saved to version history. So that's actually that's a dedicated save moment or a snapshot in time of what the model looks like. So just want to point that out. That's actually kind of a newer feature. I haven't seen that out very much. That's newer since FabCon. Okay. Yep. Okay. Exactly. Excellent. Any other?
So it works well.
Any other demo pieces we're going to go through?
I think this is good. There's many more I could demo, but I think we're already kind of pushing on 20 minutes here. So we're actually almost 30 minutes. So
wonderful.
I think that's good enough for now. So go ahead and get started with it's really easy. I did it twice. It's very quick and easy to kind of get through and start using Direct Lake right in Power BI Desktop.
Well, wonderful. Zoe, thank you again so much for the demo. This is super exciting. I love having all this new content coming out from Fabric Conference. If you like this video, if you like what Zoe's doing and you want to learn more about things, please make sure you like and subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. We really appreciate the feedback here. That helps Zoe to gauge the level of investment of her time. She's very busy, and we need to make sure that she's focusing on building great product pieces. But if you guys give us some really great interactions on the video, it helps Zoe know that we should do more of these. So please engage with the video, write your comments, let us know more about what this feature means to you. If you like it, if there's other feature design here that you want to talk about it, go reach out to Michael Kowalski, have him make a bunch of new features that are going to make it easier for us to move between different models. So also, thank you very much, Power BI community and Fabric community now for all your things. Zoe, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for the wonderful demo. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Mike. Bye.
Bye.